good morning, or good evening, whichever it is, or good in between. Here it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So, this video, and I'm going to provide the text document as well with this. This is an overview of what I call mindful mental hygiene, which is really kind of an overview of how the little way of peace works. The first step to inner health is taking full responsibility for our own growth. In other words, we are responsible for what we become, not the circumstances around us. Mental hygiene is as essential to living a healthy life as physical hygiene. The first step to inner health is knowing who we are and who we are not. In fact, I suggest when we're really beginning this process is take some time and sit down and make a list of that. Who you are and who you are not. Lots of times people call us stupid, and we know we're not stupid. But if we aren't consciously aware that we know we're not stupid, then we're always absorbing some of that. So make a list of who you really are and who you are not. And then don't let anybody change that for you. Stand for that and make it be so. The second step to inner health is developing an observer self. The third step is learning to set positive boundaries with others in our life and empowering ourselves to create a positive inner atmosphere where growth is possible. We are in charge of our own destinies. So we have to set up a structure inside of ourselves that will help us to grow optimally into the light. We cannot change what we do not realize. Unless we have an awareness of something, we can't change it. Therefore, we must increase the clarity of our inner realizations. We must become mindful of all aspects of our inner reality. We can give ourselves the power to change through the development of our own inner realizations and the disciplines that spring from them. Again, we can give ourselves the power to change through the development of our own inner realizations and the disciplines that spring from them. So we develop inner realizations, and then we develop the disciplines that we need to rise from those realizations that are limiting to us. We can be a tree that stands quiet and strong in the storm, or we can continue to be a leaf that is constantly buffeted by the wind. Take hold of the rudder of self and be the captain of the ship of life. Inner change begins when we make positive aspiration to observe our own inner emotional state moment to moment. It is a waste of time to try to change others. What we can change is our reactions and our interactions with them. No other can make us feel guilty or make us feel angry. The negatives created by others can destroy our peace only if we allow them to. Stop blaming others for inner unhappiness, for truly the only person responsible for our actions and emotional reactions is ourselves. Now, this doesn't mean that other people don't elicit anger from us, that sometimes we don't just get overwhelmed by sadness. All of those things happen. But when they happen, we have to be mindful and see how they distress us and disturb the flow of everything that goes on around us. And then we develop the realization of how we contribute to our own sorrows, and we begin to dig our way out of that. Dependency on others to nurture and feed our inner needs breeds an atmosphere where abuse is always possible. Expecting others to feed us emotionally, in the end, will only ensure that we will ever be hungry. If we learn to nurture and feed ourselves by taking responsibility for our inner growth, then, in the end, we find ourselves perpetually filled. Loving self is the first step towards loving others. This is what the common maxim, love your neighbor as yourself, says. We cannot fully love others until we have done the work of loving ourselves into life. We cannot give away what we do not have. Setting boundaries with others is proactive. Being defensive is reactive. Proactive is always more constructive than reactive. Set good boundaries. Express those boundaries calmly and expect that they will be respected. One of the first signs that someone is abusing you is when you set a clear boundary and they continually go over the boundary. And every time you calmly tell them, this is what I need, and every time they ignore you, and it escalates, it escalates, it escalates, and that is a very, very toxic pattern. That is a pattern of abuse. If you make boundaries and someone consistently disrespects them, then they are disrespecting you. Celebrate victories and learn from mistakes. The best teacher is your last mistake. Any little victory you have, whether it's you remembered at noontime to close your eyes and take a breath and look inside of yourself. Any little victory, celebrate it. And at the end of the day, make a list of your victories. And in the morning, read the victories of the day before. This is how we build a stronger self every day. Kindness begins at home. Strive to be kind and considerate to yourself, and forgive yourself your mistakes. But do not allow yourself to make excuses, nor indulge in self-pity. Self-pity is a stagnant state that stifles inner growth. Self-awareness is a dynamic state that promotes inner growth. Learn the lessons of the past and let it go. The past is dead. We cannot change it. In the present moment are found the building blocks of a healthy future. Dwelling on the past is like sitting in a mud puddle. Self-pity is like quicksand. Living well is the best answer to those who have caused us pain. Little coffee. Letting go of anger and pain when others hurt us is the way to peace. If we allow the anger and pain of evil to continue to thrive in our hearts, we in essence allow that evil to win. Let it go, and inner peace will prevail. Release the negative, practice the positive. If you've made a mistake with someone and it was your fault, then reconcile with that person. Say you're sorry. Talk about where your practice broke down, because when you do that, you are setting a good example to everyone to do the same. If we sweep our mistakes under the rug, we don't learn from them, and also other people are learning from our neglect. Remember, this all of our life is about mentoring each other in one way or another. Patience. Release the negative, practice the positive. Patience is the doorway to peace. The blessings of patience do not occur without practice. To know peace, we must learn to diligently practice patience, inner and outer patience. Patience is one of the most essential practices, and the sooner we apply that practice, people will tell you, I'm not a patient person. Well, you're not a patient person because you haven't practiced patience. It's a practice, just like walking in the gym to get your legs stronger is a practice. We have to practice patience the same way. We have to be aware when we're losing patience, and we have to know how to apply the stillness of patience to the situation. It's a practice. Greet the world with kindness, and kindness will shine all about you. Greet the world with misery, and misery will always be present. Aspire to be positive. In the end, we become what we aspire to. Our suffering can be a burden to ourselves and to others, or our suffering can be the fertile ground of the garden where we grow beautiful flowers of inner peace. Everyone suffers. There's a song, it's a beautiful song. It's called Everybody Hurts. Everyone suffers, even the ones that abuse us the most. See the mistakes and sins of others in the mirror of yourself, and realize that often the mistakes are our greatest teachers, and the people that make us the most angry and give us the most difficulty, they also are wonderful teachers. So we should honor them as teachers instead of wasting our time being angry. Through the fire of difficulty, our love is honed. Look for the blessings in the darkness, and the light of hope will grow. The blessings are eternally before us. What we too often lack is the vision to see and believe in them. Give yourself the power to change. Believe in yourself. The sweet victories of peace begin at home in our own hearts. Look in the mirror each morning and smile. The person you see is your own best friend. Make it be so. If you have negative conversations with yourself, change them. For being your own worst enemy is never the way to positive change. Be a hero to yourself. Be a hero in your own story. Life blossoms when we befriend ourselves and believe fully in that friendship. Begin each day with a positive aspiration and end each day with a positive evaluation. Make a victory list and read it every morning as you begin your day. We are what we decide to be. We become what we aspire to. Kindness, compassion, patience, tolerance are some of the attributes of love. Belief in goodness and peace is an empty husk without practice. Moment-to-moment practice is the engine behind transformation that leads to mental and spiritual health. Be quiet, kind, and gentle with yourself, for how we treat ourselves is the essence of how we treat others. How we treat ourselves is the essence of how we treat others. Peace in the world begins with peace within. The peace is eternally there. It is our job to find it and reinstate its heritage. It is a beautiful world. Let us all practice our way to joy in it. None of these sound like spiritual practices, but the reality is that what this speaks to is the very core of mindfulness training, which leads to emptiness and in the end leads to the fullness of enlightened self-realization. So anyway, this is just a basic overview, and I think it's interesting to try to absorb each one of these points and turn it into a daily practice. There's no good in knowing anything unless you really apply it and practice it. Anyway, I wish everyone to find their way to the bliss and peace that follows these transformative daily moment-to-moment practices. Amen. Namaste. Amen.